What if I told you there's a strategy so powerful, so psychologically devastating, that it makes no contact look weak? What if I told you this strategy doesn't just make them miss you, it makes them regret ever leaving in the first place? What if I told you this isn't about playing games or waiting by your phone like a lovesick fool, but about mastering yourself so completely that by the time they realize what they've lost, you won't even care anymore? Intrigued? Then keep watching. And don't forget to hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more life-changing strategies. Let's dive in. 1. The Fall. A man shattered by love. Imagine a man who thought he had it all: late-night conversations, inside jokes, and a love that felt unbreakable. Then, in an instant, it was gone. No explanation, no apology, just a cold, detached goodbye that left him reeling. He stood there, staring at his phone, rereading her last message, hoping it would make sense. But it never did. The days that followed were torture. Every room felt empty, every song reminded him of her, and every silence screamed her absence. He replayed every moment, every conversation, searching for where it all went wrong. Was he too available, too loving, not enough? He tortured himself with questions that had no answers. Then came the advice: go no contact, disappear, make her miss you. So he did. He deleted her number, stopped checking her social media, and forced himself not to reach out. But deep down he was still waiting, still hoping, still a prisoner to her memory. No contact wasn't enough. It was a bandage, not a cure. Because as long as his happiness depended on her return, he was still weak, and weakness is never attractive. But then something changed. He realized that the pain he felt wasn't just about losing her, it was about losing himself. He had built his identity around the relationship, and now that it was gone, he was left with nothing but emptiness. He knew he had to rebuild, not for her, but for himself. This is where most men get stuck. They go no contact but remain emotionally tethered to the past. They wait, hoping she will come back, believing that time and distance alone will make her miss them. But that's not how it works. True power comes not from waiting, but from becoming someone she can never reach again. And that requires a level of transformation most men never achieve. 2. The truth about no contact, why it's not enough. No contact is the go-to advice for anyone who's been dumped, ghosted, or replaced. Just ignore her, they say. She'll come back when she realizes what she lost. But here's the brutal truth. No contact only works if you truly move on. Most men don't. They use it as a tactic, not a transformation. The problem? Waiting is still weakness. As long as you're hoping for her return, she still owns you. Women can sense when a man is pretending to be strong, when he's still emotionally tied to them, even in silence. And that's why no contact often fails. True strength isn't about ignoring her. It's about evolving beyond the version of yourself that she once knew. The goal isn't to make her miss you. The goal is to become the kind of man who wouldn't even be affected by her return. When you reach that point, that's when the real power shift happens. So, what's the answer? Becoming a man she can never reach again, not through silence, but through absolute, unshakable indifference. And that starts with rediscovering who you are beyond the relationship. It means diving into your passions, leveling up in every area of your life, and refusing to let one person's decision define your worth. It means shifting your focus from her to yourself, not out of spite, but out of a deep, unbreakable commitment to your own growth. This isn't about making her regret leaving. That's just a side effect. This is about making yourself so powerful, so complete, that by the time she realizes what she lost, you won't even care. The real flex isn't making her miss you, it's making yourself so evolved that even if she begged, you wouldn't go back. That's the difference between playing a game and truly winning. 3. The power of indifference, beyond no contact. Indifference is a force far stronger than mere silence. It extends beyond the concept of absence, beyond simply cutting off communication. True indifference means emotional detachment at its core. It signifies that you have reached a point where you genuinely do not care. Unlike silence, which can be a temporary state filled with longing and unresolved emotions, indifference is the final stage of emotional freedom. It is the moment when you no longer seek closure, validation, or any reaction at all. And ironically, this is precisely when the power dynamic shifts. At first, she does not notice. She assumes you are following the script that most men adhere to, a predictable game of emotional warfare where silence is a mere strategy, a waiting period before you inevitably come back. She assumes you are suffering, checking her social media, reading old texts, hoping for a sign that she still cares. In her mind, you are just another guy who will eventually fold under the weight of nostalgia and loneliness. But something changes. She senses it not in what you say, but in what you no longer do. Your absence is not calculated, it is genuine. You are no longer standing in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to reinsert yourself into her life. You have detached so completely that you are no longer emotionally available to react to her presence or her absence. You have moved beyond playing the game. You have left the playing field entirely. That is when the regret begins to creep in. She starts to wonder, why isn't he broken? Why isn't he suffering? The absence of your reaction forces her to reevaluate her decision. When someone expects power over you and suddenly loses it, it triggers something profound. She questions whether she made the right choice in walking away. Doubt begins to fester, and suddenly, the emotional control she once held over you begins to slip away. Indifference is the ultimate signal of self-respect and personal growth. It communicates that you are no longer operating from a place of scarcity, but from abundance. It tells her that your world has expanded beyond her, that her presence, or lack thereof, no longer dictates your emotional state. It is not about pretending to be indifferent. It is about becoming indifferent. When you reach this stage, you are no longer shackled by the past. You have outgrown the attachment, and that is when she will feel the weight of your absence in a way she never expected. And that is when she panics. 4. The dark side of attraction, why they always come back. Attraction is not always built on love, affection, or fond memories. More often than not, it is fueled by uncertainty, scarcity, and fear of loss. Human nature is predictable in that people seldom value what they believe they can always have. Instead, they are drawn to what seems unattainable, to what they fear losing forever. When a woman realizes that you have truly moved on, it disrupts her perception of reality. You were supposed to be longing for her, missing her, staying available just in case she decided to return. But now, you are not just physically absent, you are emotionally absent. You no longer seek her attention, you do not react to her breadcrumbs, and you have stopped caring whether she notices you at all. This creates a void, and that void is intolerable. The reason they always come back is not because they suddenly realize how much they love or miss you. It is because they cannot stand the thought of no longer having control over you. When you were emotionally invested, you were predictable. She knew she had access to you at any time, but once you remove yourself from her world, once you become truly unavailable, you become mysterious again, and mystery fuels attraction. Doubt begins to gnaw at her. Was he really that into me? Did I overestimate my value in his life? She starts questioning her own worth in your eyes, and that internal uncertainty drives her curiosity. She will reach out in subtle ways, a like on an old photo, a random text, or even a direct attempt to see you again. Not because she intends to rekindle the relationship, but because she needs to know she still has power over you. This is the dark side of attraction. It is not about love. It is about ego. It is about control. Understanding this gives you an advantage. You no longer need to wonder why they always come back. You already know. The real question is, will you allow yourself to be drawn back into the same cycle? Or will you recognize that true power lies not in rekindling old flames, but in embracing your own freedom and moving forward without hesitation? The choice is yours. 5. The Stoic transformation, turning pain into power. Pain is a powerful thing. For most men, it becomes a prison, a cycle of regret, self-doubt, and endless suffering. They replay their past failures like a broken record, trapped in a loop of what-ifs and if only. Their pain chains them, making them slaves to their emotions. But for the rare few, pain is not the end of their story. It is the beginning of a new chapter. They don't just survive it, they thrive because of it. This man didn't just move on, he transformed. He channeled his pain into self-discipline, emotional control, and unshakable confidence. He did not allow his suffering to define him. Instead, he used it as the foundation for his rebirth. Every ounce of betrayal, every moment of heartbreak, every setback became the fuel that ignited his evolution. While others allowed pain to weaken them, he let it forge him into something indomitable. Pain taught him discipline. He woke up earlier, trained harder, and became relentless in his pursuit of excellence. He understood that weakness was a choice, and he refused to choose it. He built his body, his mind, and his character with the same intensity that once fueled his anguish. No longer a victim of his emotions, he became the master of his fate. Pain also taught him control. Instead of reacting impulsively, he learned to pause, reflect, and act with precision. Where once he may have lashed out in anger or drowned in sorrow, he now stood firm, unaffected by the storms of life. He understood that true power was not in seeking revenge or proving a point, but in remaining composed when everything around him screamed for chaos. And perhaps most importantly, pain taught him value. He realized that he was not defined by who hurt him, who left him, or who doubted him. He became so undeniably valuable that the past became irrelevant. The people who once dismissed him were now watching in awe, but he no longer sought their validation. He was too busy building, creating, and evolving. Pain did not destroy him, it sculpted him. He became a living testament to the idea that suffering is not a curse, but a catalyst. He did not just move forward, he ascended. And when the world saw him again, they no longer saw the broken man he once was. They saw a force to be reckoned with. 6. The silent domination, winning without words. The most dangerous man in the room is not the one who yells the loudest, makes threats, or seeks attention. He is the one who moves in silence, accomplishing more with his absence than others do with their presence. He does not need to engage in petty games, nor does he seek closure from those who failed to appreciate him. He simply removes his energy, and that is what disturbs them the most. He doesn't block her. He doesn't delete old pictures in an act of defiance. He doesn't announce his departure with dramatic gestures. Instead, he vanishes. Not in bitterness, not in weakness, but in silent strength. He understands that true power is not in proving a point, but in becoming someone so valuable that losing him is its own punishment. She expects anger. She expects retaliation. She expects anything but indifference. But when she looks for a reaction and finds nothing, she is forced to confront an unsettling truth. She no longer holds any control over him. Her texts go unanswered. Her presence is ignored. Where there was once fire, there is now cold emptiness. And that is what haunts her the most. While she stalks his profile for signs of heartbreak, he is too busy building his empire. While she waits for him to slip back into her grasp, he is already 10 steps ahead, focused on his growth, his purpose, his next chapter. She wanted to be his world, but she underestimated one thing: he was always his own world. This man understands that real revenge is not destruction, but elevation. He does not waste time proving his worth to someone who could not see it. He does not lower himself to meet them where they are. Instead, he rises so high that they can only watch from below, wondering how they ever let him go. And when she finally realizes what she lost, it is already too late. He is no longer reachable. He is no longer waiting. He is no longer the man she once knew. He has mastered the art of silent domination, winning without words, conquering without conflict, and in doing so, he has secured the greatest victory of all: absolute freedom. 7. The social shift, creating an aura of mystery. Mystery is attraction. People don't obsess over what they understand, they obsess over what confuses them. When you become unpredictable, unreadable, and untouchable, that's when they can't stop thinking about you. Consider the most compelling figures in history, literature, and even your own life. The ones who left the deepest impressions were rarely those who laid out every thought and intention. Instead, they were the ones who left things unsaid, the ones who made you wonder. They spoke in measured words, revealed only fragments of their true selves, and let others do the work of filling in the blanks. This is the power of mystery. It forces people to engage, to seek, to pursue. In a world of overexposure, where everyone shares every mundane detail of their lives online, mystery is a rare currency. The moment you become predictable, you lose value. When you're always available, always sharing, always reacting, people become accustomed to your presence. You become background noise. But when you withdraw, when you carefully curate what you reveal, you become intriguing. The unknown is far more compelling than the known. One of the key aspects of building an aura of mystery is unpredictability. If you always respond immediately, always say yes, or always act in the same manner, you become an open book. Instead, keep people guessing. Sometimes be warm, sometimes distant. Sometimes be available, sometimes completely absent. Let them wonder what you're thinking, where you are, and why you're not responding the way they expect. Another critical component is depth. A mysterious person isn't just someone who refuses to share information. They're someone who has layers, interests, and passions that aren't immediately obvious. Read widely, travel, explore new ideas, and cultivate a unique perspective on life. When people sense that there is more to you than what you show, they become invested in uncovering it. Additionally, body language and tone play a major role. A person who speaks with deliberate pauses, who makes eye contact but doesn't overdo it, who listens more than they talk, all of these things create an air of confidence and mystery. Avoid oversharing. Instead, master the art of giving just enough information to pique curiosity, but never enough to fully satisfy it. Mystery also extends to your digital presence. Avoid constant social media updates, especially emotional ones. Keep your personal life private and avoid explaining yourself unnecessarily. Let rumors build, let questions go unanswered, and let people construct their own narratives about you. The less you clarify, the more they'll want to know. In the end, the key to creating an aura of mystery isn't just about withholding information. It's about being someone worth wondering about. Have depth, be unpredictable, and refuse to be an open book. Make them work for your attention, and they'll never stop thinking about you. 8. The ultimate test, when she reaches out. It always happens. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually she reaches out. And this is where most men fail. They react too quickly, too eagerly, and just like that, she knows she still has power over them. When a woman reaches out after time apart, it's rarely a simple check-in. More often than not, it's a test, a way to gauge where she stands in your mind. Has she lost her grip on you? Does she still have access? Has she been replaced? If you respond immediately, if you seem excited or overly emotional, you confirm her suspicions. She still controls the dynamic. But not this man. He doesn't take the bait. He doesn't ignore her out of pettiness. He ignores her because she is no longer relevant. A man who has mastered himself understands that the past belongs in the past. When a woman reappears, it is often because she senses a shift in his energy. Perhaps he has moved on, improved himself, become more independent, and now she feels that absence. Women, like all people, are drawn to what is scarce. The moment you become elusive, you become valuable again. But the true test isn't just about ignoring her. It's about being indifferent. Indifference is the real power move. It's not about blocking her, deleting messages in anger, or making a dramatic show of moving on. It's about genuinely not caring whether she reaches out or not. A man who has truly evolved doesn't need to play games. He simply no longer seeks validation from the past. If he chooses to respond, he does so with an air of detachment, a simple, neutral message devoid of emotion or eagerness. No exclamation points, no unnecessary elaboration, no attempt to reopen doors that have already closed. She will feel the difference. She will sense that she no longer holds the position she once did, and that realization will either make her respect him more or regret letting him go. Either way, he wins. The ultimate test isn't about her at all. It's about him. Can he remain composed, unshaken, and in control of his own emotions? Can he resist the urge to seek validation? The men who fail this test prove that they never truly let go. But the ones who pass, they move forward, untouched, untethered, and entirely in command of their own destiny. 9. The final shift, becoming truly unbreakable. There comes a moment in your journey when you realize something profound. You are free, not because she finally reached out, not because she admitted she was wrong, and certainly not because you received some kind of closure from her. No, this freedom is different. It's deeper. It's the kind of freedom that comes from within, the kind that no one can give you because you created it yourself. And once you reach this state, there is no going back. Her name used to send a jolt through your chest, a painful reminder of what was, what could have been, or what never really was. Now, it's just a name, a collection of letters that no longer have power over you. You don't flinch when someone mentions her. You don't feel a pang in your stomach when you see something that reminds you of her. You don't even feel the need to check her social media, not out of restraint, but because the thought doesn't even cross your mind. The absence of these thoughts isn't forced. It's effortless. It's natural. It's real. This is the final shift. The transformation from a man who was hurting to a man who is healed. And healing doesn't mean forgetting or pretending it never happened. It means accepting it, learning from it, and rising above it. It means you've taken every ounce of pain, disappointment, and rejection and used it as fuel to rebuild yourself stronger than ever before. You don't need her validation anymore. You don't need her to acknowledge how much she hurt you. You don't need her to see how much better you are now. Because the truth is, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is that you are stronger, wiser, and completely unbreakable. You have come to terms with the fact that your worth was never dependent on her recognition. Your value has always been in your own hands. You've rebuilt yourself in a way that ensures no one will ever have that kind of power over you again, not because you've closed yourself off, but because you understand your own worth. You've faced the pain, you've walked through the fire, and you've emerged on the other side unscathed, not because it didn't hurt, but because it didn't destroy you. And now, nothing and no one can break you again. You are in control, and that's what it means to be unbreakable. 10. The new reality, a life on his terms. This is where the story truly begins. You are no longer living in reaction to her or to the past. You are living for yourself, on your own terms. The pain that once defined you is now just a chapter in your story, one that propelled you forward rather than held you back. You don't care who she's with, if she regrets it, or if she's still checking your profile in the middle of the night. That version of you, the one who cared, the one who needed closure, no longer exists. You have outgrown the situation. You have outgrown her, and you realize that in all this time, it was never about her anyway, it was about you. And that's the real power move. Not moving on with someone else, not seeking revenge, not proving anything, just outgrowing her completely. Because when you outgrow someone, they no longer have a place in your world. Not in your thoughts, not in your heart, not even in the memories you choose to revisit. They simply fade into irrelevance. This is the new reality, a life where you make the rules, a life where you prioritize yourself, your goals, your peace, a life where you wake up every day with excitement for what's ahead rather than dwelling on what's behind. Your focus is entirely on your own evolution, and that alone is worth more than anything you ever lost. And here's the irony. The moment you stop caring is the moment she feels it, because she expected you to hold on. She expected you to always be there, even if just in the background, lingering like a ghost. But you're not a ghost. You're a man who has stepped fully into his power. You are free in the truest sense of the word. And that's what truly breaks her. Not that you moved on, but that she no longer exists in your world. This journey was never about her. It was always about you, about your growth, your evolution, and your ability to rise above. You are now the kind of man who doesn't need to look back. You don't need validation from the past, because the future you're creating is far greater. You understand that everything you needed was within you all along. If you're ready to keep evolving, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. But before you go, drop a comment below. I control my destiny, because from this point forward, no one else does. This is your life. Own it. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us create more content like this. And remember, your destiny is in your hands. Take control. Your best days are ahead.